There was a thick, tense atmosphere in Carousel Boutique as Rarity stood before her mirror. She lifted her lipstick with her magic and quickly set it back down with a whine of annoyance. 63 shades from all the top brands sat before her on her vanity, and not one of them was right for the occasion. If she didn't figure out which one to wear soon, she would have to go without the lipstick. It had already taken hours to choose the right eyeshadow. She was running out of time. She desperately scanned the rows and columns of the assembled tubes. She couldn't be imperfect for this, not with all the work she had done to set this up. A loud knock came at her door. Oh no, she was too late. She'd have to rely on only her natural beauty, and, copious though as it was, it could never give her the same sense of confidence as her name brands. Still, she rushed downstairs and threw open the door, immediately regretting and trying to look like she hadn't hurried. There she was, standing proudly with a small cart strapped to her barrel.
Applejack.
Rarity mumbled, the earth pony's name coming out thick with desire. She quickly caught herself staring and regained her poise.
Darling, thank you ever so much for coming by.
The farmer gingerly loosened the straps of her cart and slipped out of the harness.
No problem, Rarity. I'm just sorry your trip got canceled.
Applejack answered, hefting large rolls of fabric out of the cart, the unicorn grabbing a few with her magic and heading upstairs. The trip, of course, was not canceled. This had been orchestrated by the brilliant, detail-oriented mind of Rarity the Unicorn. Rarity smiled smugly to herself as she led Applejack upstairs.
Claim that you have a trip and a large order of fabric will be coming in while you're gone. Check. Get Applejack to agree to have them deliver the order to her home and then bring them by the boutique. Check.
She looked over her shoulder as they reached the top of the steps, Applejack's powerful tail pinning rolls down onto her back.
Lament the cancellation of your so-called trip and apologize profusely for being unable to change the shipping address of your order. Check. Last step, Rarity.
She fumbled a little with her hooves, not willing to divide her magic between the heavy cloth and the doorknob.
Get Applejack to admit to seeing you as the object of her desire and begin the most wonderful courtship Ponyville's ever seen. Soon to be checked.
The pair set down the rolls in Rarity's workshop, and the unicorn walked suspiciously close to the earth pony.
Honestly, Applejack, I can't thank you enough.
She fluttered her eyelids seductively, taking a slightly submissive posture.
If there is ever anything I can do for you, please don't hesitate to ask. Anything at all?
Nah, don't you worry none, Rares. I'm always happy to help a friend.
A powerful forelimb patted Rarity on the back. The unicorn's mind was filled with screams of inarticulate frustration as her lips pouted softly, her head angled downward a bit.
Applejack, I insist on repaying you, and I absolutely will not take no for an answer.
I told you, Rarity, it's fine. What are friends for, after all?
The word friend was like an exquisitely cut diamond, having its veracity tested by being used to carve initials onto the glass of Rarity's heart. Still, she would persevere. There was nothing that could stop her from getting Applejack to tell her how she felt.
Applejack, it is because we're friends that I'm being so insistent. Tell me, how would you feel if one of us had done something so generous and kind for you, only to deny you any chance to repay them?
A spark of ingenuity flashed through Rarity's brain. It was all she could do to keep from cackling manically at the idea.
Look me in the eyes.
She fluttered her eyelids as she spoke softly.
Tell me honestly that there's absolutely nothing that you want from me.
Applejack rolled her eyes and looked into Rarity's own.
Rarity, I don't need...
She started to look away, having some trouble thinking while staring into those shimmering blue eyes. But she had to make contact while refusing her, for whatever reason.
Don't...
Her cheeks began to flush.
That's to say,
She could feel the sweat beading on her brow.
there's,
A lump formed in her throat. She had to get out of there.
Fuck! I mean apples!
She dashed down the stairs and out the door.
So close.
Rarity said, a grin plastered irrevocably upon her lips.
You may not have confessed your love, darling, but you've told me far more than you might think.
She walked over to her desk, pushing some dress designs aside, and began to write out ideas. How could she get Applejack? If she could just get her alone for a moment where the farmer couldn't simply take off running, she'd have her. There was no doubting that. She'd have liked it if the fake canceled trip plan had worked flawlessly, of course. She was rightfully very proud of the clever story she had managed to spin, in addition to which, it had the added benefit of giving her dozens of potential dresses, just waiting to be made. Sadly, a story that complex couldn't be easily repeated, not without raising suspicion.
How to go about this?
She thought to herself, looking at all the possible connections that could bring them closer.
Sweetie Belle and Apple Bloom are good friends, and Sweetie is often eager to please. On the other hand, I can't try to force my sister to be a part of this. Can I? No, perish the thought. Sweetie is innocent, and I will not tarnish that, even if she doesn't know what's going on.
She stepped away from her desk and began pacing around the room.
I just need something to start a conversation, some reason to meet with her, but where would I?
Something on the floor caught her eye, and the corners of her lips turned up mischievously.
Applejack, you're making this so easy.
Meanwhile, halfway across town, Applejack burst through a door, slid under a table, curled up, and began hyperventilating.
She was flirting with me? She can't be flirting with me. Why do I care if she... Was she... What? Get a hold of yourself, Applejack. She can't be flirting with you because she don't feel that way. And, well, if she did, she would have said something and you two would have been doing all kinds of crazy romantic stuff whatnot together. Don't be getting that nonsense in your head. She was just being polite. That's what it is. She was just being polite. And if you think any different, you're gonna ruin your friendship with her and you don't want that.
Twilight came into the room and found the source of the noise, looked down at the intruder with no small amount of shock at how nervous the confident, steadfast farmer appeared.
Applejack?
I like trees!
She began to explain, eyes darting around nervously.
Spent my whole life with them. They make me feel safe. Needed the biggest one I could find. Sorry for bursting in.
Is there anything I can help you?
Absolutely not.
Applejack frowned as she saw Twilight cringe from her shouting.
I'm sorry, Twi. It's just something I gotta handle on my own.
She slowly stood, beginning to calm down. Her knees were still shaking after the run-in with Rarity. She stared at them, trying to get them to behave, and when she looked back up, Twilight stared at her flatly.
Do you remember the last time I offered help when you were acting strange and you didn't accept it?
Before Applejack could answer, a banner reading Applebuck Season floated in, engulfed in purple magic, hovering above Twilight's head. The Earth Mare let out a frustrated sigh, not questioning why Twilight had the banner ready in the first place.
I know, but this ain't like that. This ain't about me being too proud. It's just private is all.
Did something happen at Rarity's?
How did you know I was over there?
Magic?
As Applejack glared at her, she sighed softly and gave in.
All right, fine. I can tell just by looking that you recently washed your hooves, but it's not close to mealtime and you washed all 4 of them. You were trying to avoid tracking dirt.
Another glare.
Okay, you smell like the boutique.
Concerned frou-frou fragrances. Look, Twi, I know you want to help, and any other day I'd be happy to accept, but this is really between me and Rarity.
She headed for the door, having calmed down substantially by this point.
I'll see you later, Twi.
Twilight just stared after her.
Any other day? Any other day?
It was a mystery. She needed to consult the calendar as soon as possible. Applejack headed home, glad to be done with Rarity for the day. She cared deeply for her, just as she did for all her friends. But she could not deal with seeing her again so soon. She walked in the front door and breathed a sigh of relief.
I'm home!
Rounding the corner, she froze in her tracks at the sight of Rarity, standing next to the most uncomfortable, awkward-looking Big Mac she'd ever seen. And what was that in Rarity's hoof? Was that? Applejack quickly turned her head backwards to see her tail hanging free and open. Before she had a chance to figure out exactly how it happened, the unicorn moved behind her and began correcting it, magically holding all of a blushing Applejack's tail hairs together and gently slipping the small band of red cloth around the end. Happy to have his sister home to get the attention off of him, Big Macintosh quickly headed out to do some work. Rarity stayed behind her, still fiddling with the tail a little.
Applejack, you are so very, very lucky.
What?
Came her well-reasoned and eloquent response.
Do you have any idea how much work and money most mares have to put forth to get their hair so, voluminous and vibrant, so soft and silky?
She asked, smiling softly and staring into those brilliant green eyes. She spoke as if she had something seductive caught in her throat and was pushing it out a little more with each word.
And not to offend, but I doubt you do a thing to get it this way. Quite frankly, I'm jealous.
Rarity, you're making me mighty uncomfortable.
What could possibly be making you uncomfortable, Applejack? I'm simply paying a compliment to one of the ponies closest to me, and an honest one at that.
Well, you say, you keep stroking my tail and, well, keep making them eyes at me, and
Did her tongue start swelling, or did it just go numb? Rarity stared at her, but quickly tried to get back on course.
Applejack, did you ever want something from some pony? Did you ever have something you desired so much, but could never take for yourself?
She moved away from the tail, moving closer and closer to her face.
'Cause I'd be willing to give it to you.
Applejack replied, dashing into the bathroom and locking the door. Rarity walked over to the table and daintily slammed her forehead into it. She swallowed her frustration and approached the bathroom.
Applejack? Are you... Oh dear.
She stepped back in alarm.
Way to go, Applejack. Way to keep a handle on them nerves. I'll be... I think that's all.
Rarity waited patiently as the farmer composed herself, cleaned up, brushed her teeth, and exited the restroom. Her eyes were waiting there to wow Applejack the moment she came out, but their target avoided eye contact.
Look at my eyes. Come on. Look at my eyes. Damn it. Is something wrong?
No, nothing at all. But what makes you think something might be wrong?
Well, you're not looking me in the eye, for one.
That's 'cause I'm afraid of what I might do if I looked,
Applejack thought, and, in the interest of buying herself some time, began coughing into her hoof.
Applejack, clearly something is on your mind. If you can be honest with yourself about what it is, I'll be generous enough to lend you my ear. Yes, Applejack?
She clenched her eyes shut. She couldn't do this. Rarity was Rarity. She'd never love a farmer. She wanted those fancy stallions up in Canterlot, not a simple mare in Ponyville. Applejack had to squash these stupid dreams of romance before. She hesitantly opened her eyes to find that not only was she in Rarity's embrace, but somehow she'd begun hugging back. The question of whether it was instinctive or her forelegs were just the target of the unicorn's witchery quickly vanished as she realized that Rarity's cheek was pressed against her own. She pulled back a bit, and the unicorn instantly pulled her in tighter for a moment before letting her go. Rarity watched her soon-to-be more than just a friend expectantly, a delicate smile on her lips.
I'm sorry for interrupting, but you were about to say something, Applejack?
She waited, starting to lose hope, as the farmer stuttered and stumbled over her words.
You're,
Just as Rarity was finally about to give up, Applejack threw her hat on the ground in frustration.
Consarn it all!
She grabbed Rarity in her powerful hooves and kissed her. It was no kiss for the ages, a small, timid thing, clumsy for the lack of experience. But Rarity was sure she felt her heart skipping a beat when it happened.
I love you, Rarity.
I know. And I love you too, Applejack.
She gently returned the kiss and stood calmly before her. Applejack's head swam with love and elation, but a few questions seemed to worm their way to the forefront of her mind.
Wait, you knew? How long?
Oh, a few weeks, dear.
How'd you know? If you knew, why didn't you say anything? Why'd you wait for me to say it? Why'd you put me through all this today when you could have just told me you loved me back?
I knew because it was quite frankly written all over your face. I didn't say anything because I didn't want to scare you off or embarrass you by bringing up the issue. And as for your last point, how do I put this? I do not simply confess to other ponies. No, other ponies confess to Rarity, but I'm more than willing to reciprocate.
She locked eyes with Applejack, ire and humiliation being burned away in the earth pony.
This is gonna suck, ain't it?
At times, undoubtedly, but I'm certain we'll enjoy more than we'll regret.
Applejack nodded, leaned in, and nuzzled against her new filly friend, as Rarity began to wonder just how easier all of this could have been if she had just picked the right shade of lipstick.